Right now we're on recess. We had about 2 weeks of just nonstop reconciliation in the House where they were amending, making changes in all the various committees. I closely followed the Ways and Means, which is where the tax provisions came from, and that's kind of the biggest part of this one big, beautiful bill. So now it's going to go to the Senate, and I would say there was kind of three factions in the House. That you had the SALT people who wanted a bigger SALT cap, the state and local tax deduction. You had the kind of fiscal hawks who wanted lower deficit spending, less spending cuts to things like Medicaid and SNAP or food stamps, and then you had the moderates who were kind of pushing back on the deficit hawks and saying, we don't want these big cuts to Medicaid. We have districts where they have a high proportion of people getting these, and that would not be good politically for us or for the people in your district.
Right.
I think in the Senate you're going to not going to really have much about SALT. So that's that was probably the biggest wedge issue among that group.
No real senators from high tax blue states. I mean, you've got Susan Collins, but that's not really one of the higher tax blue states.
It's really Republicans who are in states with high taxes, and there's not any of that in the Senate. So you're not going to see people really pushing to make change that. Now there could be some people kind of push the other way, say, oh, they've raised the cap too high. It's, I think, $40,000 with a $500,000 income cap right now. They might be trying to rein that in. I don't think that's very likely, though, just because of how difficult it was to even get to that number.
Right.
And the Senate knows that, this is going to have to come back to the House for another vote, and they got to pass this. They can't drag this out until next year because all of it expires at the end of the year.
Right.
So anyway, the SALT, I think you're going to see more of an issue with the deficit hawks in the Senate trying to cut more spending.